Hey, this is our Success Tips for Beginning Educators presentation. I'm Sydnee Baxter.
I'm Camy Hannah.
And I'm Hannah Horton.
So, for the first tips for success, we have build strong, caring relationships with students, create motivation through engagement and joyful learning, differentiate instruction to meet diverse needs, embrace reflection and growth as a teacher, and develop self efficacy early in childhood is essential.
The theories that we used in our presentation that we learned throughout our experience is behaviorism, constructivism, social learning. These all fit within our experiences, and we built our tips based off of these series.
So, for the first tip, build strong, caring relationship with students. Being open minded with where the students are coming from and their backgrounds. You want to build connections with them for them to feel comfortable. And then also, it's really important to build positive relationships with both students and the parents.
Then, tip number two is create motivation through engagement and joyful learning. Each student behaves differently based on their backgrounds, and you don't know their backgrounds, so it's important to get to know them. And creating a positive environment for students to come to the classroom and to think of it as a safe place for them to come to. And also using rewards to motivate students for their hard work and encouraging them to work at home to achieve their goals.
For tip number three, it's to differentiate instruction to meet diverse needs. Not all kids are the same, so sometimes you have to differentiate instruction based on their needs. So, as a teacher, just be aware of the students and the needs that they have when they're learning, and understand each student will be at a different pace. Not all students are on the same level. They don't speak the same language and different things. So, it's you just have to differentiate instruction and create equal opportunities for every student within the class, no matter their differences. And then another is assess each student in different ways that benefit them the best. So some, they can listen to something better when you assess them. Some like to see it in writing. So just assess each student in the ways that benefits them.
And then tip number four is embrace reflection and growth as a teacher. I think I've learned the most during the experience as I went and observed my teacher, because you have to learn from your mistakes, and it's good to understand that you are learning and you are going to make mistakes, and remind yourself that you can be the reason why a student wants to come to school, and you can have that big of an impact on them. And make sure you prioritize your family even when you were overwhelmed. I know many teachers that come in and they get burnout over the first couple of years because they don't take time for themselves, for their family, anything like that. So I think that that's super important, and to have self-care. And then another is learn from your past and strive to do better. I think when you reflect back on yourself as a teacher and back on the lessons you learned to do better, what can change for certain students and make the classroom a more positive environment.
For tip number five, develop self efficacy early in childhood is essential. Children who build this confidence early, they're more willing to learn and try new tasks. Like with my experience, the kids who are bilingual and struggle with English, working with them and just providing positive rewards and reinforcements that they are doing good and to just keep going. And this helps students believe that they can succeed, which leads to better motivation. And teachers can support this too by celebrating their success and letting students practice the skills on their own. So, like when we do communicate with those students, we constantly are talking to them and asking them questions and reassuring them that it's okay to talk and just keep going on their own.
So the next are teaching strategies. So classroom management, positive reinforcement. So, reinforce good things. Just remind them, thank you for doing so good today, and rewarding them for their positive behavior. Consistent routines, that's real important, just so they always know what to expect and don't throw anything off with their routines, because that can definitely mess up the whole day. And then redirecting students, if they need help, just paying attention, or help, like if you have to just redirect them, for them to learn and stay on track. And then explicit modeling, show them what you want them to do and how you want them to learn. And hands-on, just so they know what to expect.
And now for the meaningful technology. I know some of us, since we are 3 in kindergarten and in pre-K, a lot of us don't use technology, but what technology we do use are the Chromebooks for AR testing and reaching their math goals. The individual work, students go on the Lilo and they're able to learn educational games in order for them to reflect back on how their progress is going. And then another thing that is super important is the smart board, where each student can come up to the board and have hands-on experiences with in front of all the classroom and learning during that. And I know some of us don't have the opportunity to be hands-on with the technology just because the preschoolers are at a younger age where it's less motivated as far as them for being able to use technology.
And for me, I'm in pre-K, so my teacher is really against technology. We do use the smart board to show different things and videos with brain breaks, but we try to steer away from using technology at a young age, so my teacher doesn't believe in it. So the only thing we do use is the smart board. During my field experience, I've learned the importance of behavior discipline using positive reinforcement and punishments with young students. I think it's critical for them at this age to understand how a classroom works, and effective discipline does provide structure and understanding of expectations. Kids at this age, this is sometimes their first time being away from their parents, being in a school setting with other kids and teachers. And so just teaching them discipline and understanding, you can and can't do this, and then understanding why and the consequences of it. It's just really important at this age to teach that and constantly reinforce positive and negative. But discipline is also not about control, but it's teaching children how to manage themselves and work with others. So it's not so much about just having control and wanting to be the bad guy or be the main leader in the room, but you're also just wanting to teach them how to work with themselves and how to work with others the right way, being respectful and using their manners and not just throwing fits and causing a scene. I also have learned that personal interests play a powerful role in motivation in young children. So like when we would do Haggerty and we have a little hero that watches over them to make sure they're all participating and doing what they're supposed to. And so I think it's important to recognize your students' personal interest, to motivate them to work and do better, and to learn each of your students and figure out what motivates them best. Because what may motivate one may not motivate the other one, but you want to try to figure out what motivates them as a whole so the whole class is participating. And then also self-efficacy builds persistent and encourages independence in children. Like my 2 kids that are Hispanic and have trouble speaking with English, just in the past 3-4 months I've been there, I've worked really hard with them on speaking English and responding and learning to say our names. And just over time, it has gotten so much better. And I come in at the end of the week and I'm so impressed with how much they've gotten better and using their words and speaking English. And it's just really good to see.
And then for my experience, I've learned that making a relationship between both the teachers and the students is super important, because you never know where the students come from, because they can come from a family that is abusive. They may not get enough sleep. They may have not eaten dinner. They may have not had a good morning and all that kind of stuff. So it's important to get to know the students on a deeper level in order for them to communicate those things, in order for you to be able to reflect on what you can do better for them and how you can make it better for them and have them have a better experience. I also have learned that every student's behavior is going to be different. So having and using positive reinforcement is important because the patterns of their behavior may change, may not change. And again, this kind of goes with the first point that their experiences at home could be totally different than what they are at the school. So recognizing those patterns, you can reflect on who they are and refer them to an admin if it needs to be done, just because you need to get to the main cause of their behavior. Is it because they didn't eat dinner, or is it because they didn't get enough sleep, or anything like that, rather than just assuming that they're just a bad kid and then them think of school in a negative way and not want to come back. Another thing is creating equal opportunities for every student, no matter their learning experience and level, and using different teaching methods. I have a couple of Hispanics in my class that are nonverbal. They don't know what we're saying. It takes them a longer time to understand, which is totally okay. But for me, my cooperating teacher has observed and has been able to make adjustments to her lesson plans and to figure out what needs to do better as far as changing things and how she can benefit those kids in a specific way when they get pulled out at certain times during the classes, just to be able to have one-on-one time with them. And then using different teaching methods, they also are able to reflect on what works and what doesn't work. And another one is creating that safe and positive environment, which it motivates students to want to succeed. If the students recognize that they are doing better, they are wanting to do better, they have a treat and can get into the treat bucket at the end of the day for doing good. Or if in my classroom we have a thing called Fun Friday, where students come and throughout the week it reflects on their behavior, and they're able to have a Fun Friday day where it's free time, where they get to play outside, inside, and just be able to have fun overall. So that is what is most important.
During my field experience, I've learned how important it is for teachers to build these strong, caring relationships with their students. Most of the time, you never know like what's going on in their home, and you just want school to be a place where they enjoy and they want to come. Educational psychology theory shows that students learn best when they feel safe, supported, and valued. And I was able to see this firsthand in the classroom that I'm in. Connections with students increase motivation, improve behavior, and help students to stay engaged. And my experience definitely showed how true this is. When students feel like they belong and know their teacher cares, they open up more, they participate more, and they show more confidence in their learning. And through my time in the classroom, I realized that caring relationships are not just helpful, but they are the foundation for students' growth, learning, and a strong classroom.
And these are our resources.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.